Welcome, everybody. My name is Joey Ragona. I have an awesome human being on the other side of the world. Her name is Eszter Gódor. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Do I get that right?
Yes.
Gódor? Yeah. I always mess up names, so I apologize. And we've known each other for
We
like ever.
accept it in any way.
Yeah,
Any
we.
any anything
It's
you
like
call
there.
me, I'm fine.
That's why I try not to do the last names. And you are just an amazing human, so thank you for being here. And I want to introduce the world to you because you've been through a whole bunch of ups and downs in your business. And I want to get into that story. Your tenacity, your
Cool.
commitment, your love for serving the world is just an amazing, and the energy that you bring is cool. So we'll just see how this goes. I want the world to know your story, a little bit about your story, and for whatever you're comfortable sharing, the vulnerabilities or the ups and downs, because I know you've had a few. And I think that the more you share, the more people will appreciate going through the hard times of building the business. And you sure know a lot about that too. So, can you start off with first who you are, what you do, and then just tell us a quick story of where you came from and where you are now, and then we'll get into the details.
Hey, cool. Thank you so much, Joy, for the opportunity, and thanks everyone for tuning in. This is super exciting, and I'm a bit nervous. So
That's okay.
sorry if
And
I
nervous
mess
energy,
up.
right? It's a good thing.
Yes, it's a good nervous. Yeah, this is I when Joy, when you told me you want to do this with me, I was like, that's super cool. So yeah, I'm Esther. I'm from Hungary, originally living in Spain. I've lived here for the last 10 years. And actually that's when the this whole business story for me started. Before 2013, I worked as an employee in corporate, mostly in shared service businesses. So with lots of people from lots of countries, different nationalities. Always worked with different languages, so I was kind of in this international world, traveling to different countries and doing my job uh, in different places, which I loved until a certain point when I thought, this is really cool, but I think I could do something on my own. Because I always put a lot of effort and energy into anything I do, whether it's for myself or for someone else. But back then I thought I want to do it for myself. But then I also thought, oh, I want to change to a more Mediterranean country because Hungary is a super cool place in the summer, but in winter it gets very gray and cold. And was like, okay, so I'll move to Spain. So I moved to Spain in 2013 without speaking Spanish. I
Wow.
spoke Hungarian, English, German, and some French, but not Spanish. My Spanish was like paella, hola, adios, and that's it. And at the same time, I decided to start my own business. I had no intention to look for a job at all. And I was like, when you do something out of your heart and soul and just go with the flow, it will work out. And sometimes, yes, but
Right,
not
right.
not always. Um, but I still did it. It wasn't easy. I set up actually an English school for children here in Granada. This is the city where I live. And it was a brick and mortar business, which I thought first I couldn't really start because I realized I needed to speak Spanish to be able to set that up, because I needed
Right.
to speak with local parents so they bring their kids to our classes. So first, even just to get there in the process, I needed to sell English books for children, because I could sell them at American and British schools, and I could talk to the directors there without any problem in English. So that was kind of my first year, but I already started with the school in my living room, teaching
Wow.
kids there. And I invented a whole method because I learned languages on the go, playing. I had amazing teachers throughout the years. And I even
Mhm.
learned Spanish by going to a tango course, dance course, and a wine tasting club. That was my way of
Wow,
learning
that's cool.
Spanish. You know, a little bit of wine, and then you're already better
Right,
at a new
exactly.
language.
You know all the swear words right away.
Oh, definitely. So that's how I got initiated in a new language already as an adult, but I thought, okay, why not do it with kids? So it was a really beautiful thing, but it was an extremely tiring process as well. Like moving to a new country, not knowing anyone, learning a new language, starting a business without ever having started one, inventing a method. No one should do all this at once.
Wow. Wow, yeah. I'm already
It's
stressed out on the
crazy.
moving to a new country thingy, not speaking the language, and you're starting a business. Like, wow, amazing.
You know, we Hungarians are more adapted to learning new languages because our language is not that much spoken. So that's why the language part I thought wasn't that difficult. But there is a difference between being able to manage yourself in a new place, in a new language, or setting up a business, like writing copy and
Yeah.
like, oh my God, if I look back at my first flyers, I it you couldn't even get what I wanted to say there, but I still printed them out and put them out in front of the door. The wind took them and printed more.
Good for you.
Yeah. So so yeah, those were the that was the
And when
start.
did you move online? How did you move online?
Yeah. So in this process, working with the school, I really felt like I should know better. There are definitely easier ways, and I and after a little bit of searching, I came across Jeff Walker and Product Launch Formula, and I was like, oh, that's for online business, but I still loved it somehow, and I enrolled in that course and in the community, and I think that's where I also met you. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, that was
Um,
going to be one of my questions is like, we've known each other for a little while, and I
yeah,
don't remember which one of the groups we met in, but yeah,
I
continue.
think it was definitely PLF. Um, and I could already apply so much of that on my brick and mortar business, but I was kind of wishing like, oh, I really I think I want an online business, but I was already in the middle of a brick and mortar one and I couldn't figure out how to move online. So I started on the side. After a few years, I really figured out easier ways of managing that whole business. And I started helping other school owners online. That was in 2017, 18. So that's where I actually started setting up an online business. But then
Okay.
concentrating on these two, that was that was crazy again. And and also the pandemic hit. So the school moved online in 2020. And then I knew I didn't want to go back ever, ever.
Right.
So I then had all the two activities online, and I think already at that time I was kind of inside your world and soaking up your wisdom, and that helped a lot. That actually helped me
Thank you.
survive that period.
Yeah, because I can't remember how long we've known each other. So now that you're drawing out the timeline, um, it was definitely before the pandemic, and it was before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you may have come into my world during my 2019 crash of the business, where I was. That's where I first started like totally. 100% double downing on value, 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 value in groups. So I don't think we met in 2018. Now that I've heard how you
Okay.
got to where you are, I think it might have been in 2019. I could be wrong
Mm-hmm.
though. Maybe it was no, it had to be 2019 for
Okay.
sure 2019, because that was only the only time I was very very active in those groups from April onward. So somewhere between 2019 and beginning of 2020, you and I met, and you were, as far as I remember, you were like right into to our community, to our tribe. You were like gung ho on, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, and we'll talk about that. So how about like you've just described a lot of how your business was before. Is there anything that you left out there? Like how was it before we met, and like how is it now, and what was the difference that happened? Like where are you now? Like that. Let's start there. Where are you now, and
Yeah.
then we'll
Yeah,
backtrack.
you asked me what do you do, and I haven't even talked about that.
Yeah,
So
there's so many areas we can touch here. So
yeah, so currently I help heart-centered teaching business owners run their own business the way that it's built around their lives, and basically figure out business the way they dreamed of it. We haven't
nice.
like in like a dreamy picture in our head when we get started, and then we are faced with reality. And
Yes.
so I help school owners, teaching business owners, course creators, mostly people who work with families and children and do things a little bit differently in a fun way with an extra tweak. Like I have a client who teaches French through movies. I have another client who writes books and teaches teenagers how to write their first book and this kind of stuff. And each of them are heroes on their own, and I really love working with them. So
Wow, like
that's what I do
the
now.
huge difference from when we met, because you were trying to build out, correct me if I'm wrong, but because you've wanted to build out the English school, I think when we first met, right? Online or something like
Mm,
that, or teaching teachers how to build their schools.
yeah, it was first called language school from scratch. So it was like how to build your language school. And then I
Okay.
realized that what my specialty was, it wasn't actually language school specific. And I was pitching to language schools, and the first client who ever bought my product, she has a music school for babies. So that's when I realized, and it all worked perfectly for her. And I will be forever grateful to her. She's amazing. Hi, Maria, if you're watching. Um, I realized it wasn't about the language school aspect. It was centers and brands that do education differently and who believe that uh, it's not about lexical knowledge, it's about experiences, and it can be really anything. And sometimes it's not even just children's educators. People also who teach adults can do things in fun ways that match my world, my way of doing things. Yeah.
This is so important for everyone listening, because you're talking about your dream client, which is what we talk all about in Atlas and everything that we do in my world, right? And
Yeah.
it gets away from this avatar thing, because you know people, when I talk to them, some of them are still thinking that the dream client is just another way of saying avatar, which it's not. What you just
Yeah.
described are people in a situation or circumstance that want the same outcome, and it doesn't matter about what they're doing. Like they're just the same kind of people, the moral values, all those things.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit, and how that opened up your world to help you build this new version of your business?
Yeah. Um, when we first did it in Atlas, I think I didn't even realize how much the difference was between the avatar and the dream client. But little by little, when you go back to it like the fifth time, because you are like, I still don't I don't feel like I got it right. I need to do this again. And so my definitions now are so much different than they were before. Before it was like person in their 30s, 40s, recently started a school, dealing with children, struggling, and they are making this and this amount annually. And now my criteria is like, you have to be fun. You have to be a little bit crazy. You have to do things differently than others do. Um, you might be shy, but you think vulnerability is a trait, and you are not afraid to show your real side to your tribe. And we haven't ever talked about this with any other coaches or any other methods. It was always just the avatar, like, okay, just put the criteria, like when you put it in a Facebook ad.
Yeah, right.
People from Italy,
Yeah,
age.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
that's not the thing. And
Yeah, you're
that's
so right.
that's
And just by listening to you and how you describe that literally gave me goosebumps because you're
oh.
describing people that you want to hang out with, right? That you would just,
Oh,
these are
totally.
amazing human beings, right?
Yeah, like even when there's nothing big going on, maybe in their businesses, they still show up to my club just to meet, just to
Right.
share what's up, and just to hear about others. As some of them show up just to be there so that in case somebody needs them. That's crazy. I mean, that's so
Isn't
amazing.
that, how does that make you feel?
I got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, same here. Like I really wish I could show them because somebody might listening to us right now might think that we're just like shoveling it. No, but it's true because you just get into this different energy, right? When you know
Totally.
that your tribe is there and they're friends and you get excited, they charge your batteries. You can't wait to get on a Zoom call to have everybody together again. And like you said,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not just about making money. Like, hey, tell me the secret to make money tomorrow type of thing. People show up to support each other. It's just a totally different vibe altogether. And I'm so happy for
Yeah.
you that this is what I want for everybody. And you know this. You're inside my groups, and I just want everyone
Oh
to
yeah.
experience what you have transformed into, and that experience because that I can't even begin to imagine what the 6th month Esther is going to look like. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
Well, you know what? First, I experienced it in your group, and my big dream was, oh my God, I want this kind of a community. The the bad thing is when someone joins your community, they might feel so bad about what's going on in theirs. That's how I felt. I was like, oh my God, my community was pathetic. Um, and when I started to apply your principles, that's when it slowly turned into what it is right now. And it also meant maybe uh, making the group a lot smaller in my case.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, we had, at some point I had 400 people in my group, then I had 70, and now we are down to 23, I think, and now it's amazing.
It's so
But
cool. Yeah.
it might
It,
sound weird, but I this is where I feel the best ever with that community.
Well, no, congratulations on that. I think the mighty few is so much better than the massive trying to get everybody into your world and having this massive
Yeah.
group that doesn't do anything or email list that doesn't engage or anything. It's those mighty few that matter. And then they'll tell maybe one or two other people. So maybe you'll get 27 people into your group now, right? And it just slowly begins like that because
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but dream clients attract other dream clients on their own. They invite people into the world. And
Yeah.
yes, it's not this massive, I've got 1 billion people coming in lead wise, but your relationships, I would imagine, are really solid with those people. Is that right?
Yeah, and the whole energy of the shares in that space. Um, what happened before, even when in coaching calls, I told people, hey, when you work on this, share this document in the group or feel free to ask questions. Sometimes they were like, I don't feel like, I don't know these people and I don't know what they will think. And even when we were 80, there were like 10 people super active, but they were like, and the rest, are they just watching or
Yeah.
what are they doing? And now they kind of know each other already, and people are sharing so much more vulnerable but so much more valuable stuff, and the answers they get are really thought through and coming from a deeper place. People interact like, the other day I took a week off because I was with my family,
I love that.
and I follow your dream life, your idea of building the business around your life. And after 6 days, there was so much interaction when I logged back into the group.
It's so
And
good.
I was like, maybe there's nothing. And it was full of great, great, great stuff.
Yeah, and that's another big aspect of doing this because all of those people become friends, like you said, and they support each other, and then the community kind of takes care of itself. It doesn't mean we could just like, well, that's it, I'm done now, and then let the community run.
Oh,
But
no way.
to your point, you left and enjoyed your life, and the community still ran itself, and you just pop back in and say, "Hey, I'm back," and they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
how was the vacation?" Right? And this is so important. So thank you for bringing that up, like the dream life to build your
Yeah.
business around that, because a lot of people don't do that. They build this business and try to fit their life into their business, which is
Mm-hmm.
very difficult, very challenging, all those things. So I want to talk a little bit about like what is the point that you knew that you needed some kind of coaching or guidance or help? Was there anything that comes to mind that you said, you know what, I'm ready to invest in myself?
Um, I was
Like
kind of
before we met.
like I was kind of like that all the time. Even when I was an employee, I was always looking for opportunities to grow, and I invested in myself even back then,
Okay.
and I continued that way when I had my business. But when I started with you, I felt like I needed a different type of support. Because what I did before were always like bigger courses where you end up in a huge community and you do get some support, but you are still trying to figure things out by yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think you invited me to your weekly club meetings.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh my God, I can get out so much, I can get so much more out of these meetings than I might get out of whole courses, because here I can share my situation, my story, and people who are going through the same are reflecting and sharing their ideas, because you went through something very similar a few years back, and there are other people who are going through the same or something very similar right now, and to share that is so uplifting. And I was like, okay, I want more of this, because this is where I feel like I can get the new energy I need.
That's amazing. And was that the point when you decided to join Atlas?
um you were working on Atlas when I joined the weekly calls, and then you announced the first cohort of Atlas, and I I was like, I don't know. When you mentioned it, I was like, oh, I really shouldn't spend money. And then I read your letter, your copy, which was, by the way, in a Word document.
Right.
And I read through it and I was like, I will get the money for this.
That is
And
so
I
cool.
did. I didn't
That is
have
so
it,
cool.
but I got it. I found a way.
And thank you for that. And thank you for listening to me throughout the process of Atlas, because I know um, it's not an easy process. It's a simple
Hmm.
process, but it's not easy, right? Because you got to unlearn a lot of things if you've been in the
Yeah.
world a little while. If you're brand new to the marketing world, I think that's a benefit to you if you ever come into Atlas. But most people need to unlearn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, what was the problem? What would you say the number one problem was before you enter or as you were entering Atlas? Like, what was the thing you wanted to quote unquote fix with Atlas?
Mm, I when I joined, I was closing one of these two businesses. I was closing the school because I realized I can't do two different things at once because none of
Okay.
them will work out the way I'd like. Um, and I also so that was pretty traumatic to me to let go of the first business, and I was in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Uh, and then closing that business, I wasn't very smart about how I did that. So I ended up I lost money when I closed it. So I ended up at almost like zero, or maybe even worse, but definitely not positive.
Yeah, not in a good situation.
Yeah. And so it was definitely one issue was the money thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I need to start making money, and I
right.
started this way, and I need to make and I need to start making money yesterday. This wasn't the right. I don't think it was the right approach because I the first time I did Atlas, I couldn't really take in everything with the peace of mind that I would have needed. But I knew I knew that what I can apply is already great because I started applying the principles. But of course, money didn't start coming
Right.
the day after.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I could feel that, oh my God, I'm already attracting different people. I'm feeling better about how I'm spending my days, my weeks, my whole month. I'm approaching conversations differently. I'm approaching my launches differently. I write different emails, and it was a whole transformation. It was also a shock. I mean, uh, like this unlearning process, you also realize that, oh my God, I've been doing things wrong so long. But it's also such a revelation to actually realize, oh, but now I know the right way, and it works because the maybe money is not instantly there, but the feedback, this whole feeling of transformation is there with the first conversation, with the first Atlas type of post you write. The reactions of people will be different, the whole energy shifts, and that's where you see that, oh my God, this works, and oh my God, I'm freaking out because I might need to start again from scratch on some
That's
areas.
okay. Yeah.
but uh, but it's like I finally arrived. Yeah.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there, and thank you for bringing up the money piece because a lot of programs out there want to promise the money, right? And even in the sales doc that I have, the goal for me when you read it is to get 5 times the investment back. So I'm still talking about money, but it's not a promise that by the time you finish this, you'll get 5 times your money back, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you will, but it usually doesn't happen like you said. So I really want to just zone in on that just for a second. Because anybody listening to this, I don't want to make big promises or anything. I know Atlas works. I know people make lots and lots of money from it, but it is a slower process. And if they're thinking that this is going to be the magic pill, it probably is not. But you touched on a couple of new things there, which was
Mhm.
you were already in a desperate situation with finances that you needed to make money yesterday. And I totally get you that it's very difficult to open up your mind and absorb new information when you are in financial stress. That's every human is the same way. But you still, like what you just said, was it just freaked me out because you still were in this zone. And I'm sure that you probably went through some harder mopey days, like my life sucks or my business sucks or whatever it is. And you were, I just want you, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want you to describe how it was going through Atlas in that state. And don't be, just share. Like, I don't, nothing is good or bad. Like, I want you to share the
Mhm.
truth of how you felt, even through the frustration of it, and maybe thinking, this is not going to work for me. Like, just can you walk us through that situation a
Yeah.
little bit? Okay.
Yeah. So when I first did Atlas and I was about to close the school, in I was in the situation that I couldn't even share much about it with anyone because to the outside that business was a huge success. Okay, we did reach 6 figures. We did impact the life of like 500 families. It was amazing. Okay, um, so it was only me on the inside that was already seeing that this will have to end. So it was first this internal whole struggle that I could only share with my closest family and friends. Um, and then when I communicated it to everyone, it was a relief. And first, it was a huge boost,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was able to put a lot of energy into the new business. Even though I didn't see money coming in, I was pushing, and it was great energy. But then I got to a moment when I ran out of money, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember I came to the Atlas Call and I said, this is all super cool, Joey, and I know this works because I've been already applying it and I see that working, but I'm freaking broke. What do I do? And then you asked me how broke you are. How broke are you? What happens if you are you gonna have to leave your apartment, or what will happen? And I was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, because there's no other source. And then you told me you gotta fix that. And then I was like, shit, I knew, I thought Joy would know the answer.
Yeah.
And he told me to fix the money thing. Um, and I think that was when I was on the second time, because you were kind enough to invite us to do this again. So people also have to know about Atlas that when you do it first, that's like the intro.
Yeah.
And
Usually.
then when you yeah, and for others it might already be enough and have a lot of things fixed, and maybe they don't even need to come back. I needed to come back and digest things a little more slowly. And what did I want to say? So you said fix the money thing, because otherwise you will work out of desperation and that will kill Atlas. And
Right.
it's true. So then I think I also needed to skip a few weeks, because I was like, if I show up, I just kill all the good energy there. So I think I did a few weeks of not showing up, and I cried a lot. in the park at home with my friend. I
Yeah.
had to, I don't know, get through that whole process. Um, but the thing that got me out of it was I actually went back to the very first or second lesson of Atlas, which was about the unique abilities. And I was like, I I'm at a freaking low point, but I know that I can do this. I've gotten through so many things, and I know that it's in me, and so I have to look there. And I did the matrix again, the unique ability mix that we are doing in Atlas. And somehow, maybe miraculously, or just by having tried so many things, because it was also throw everything at it. I was also even sending job applications. I did everything, but I knew I would never take a job
Right.
because I knew that was the past, and I don't think it's my world anymore. I'm a great employee, but that sucks the life out of me. um, so so I came up with all the list of things that I'm fantastic at, and I was able to slightly tweak the whole situation. Because the problem, sorry if I'm long, I'm just trying to put
No,
it
no, no.
into
Don't
words.
apologize. I want
Uh,
everybody to hear this story.
so the problem back then, and the reason why money wasn't coming in, even though I already did Atlas, was that I was still speaking to an audience that wasn't ready and willing to pay the amount I wanted right at that moment. It took them longer. Yeah, because since then, many of those people actually came into my world and bought. But at that point, it was not the right time for them yet. So I needed to tweak everything and find people who were ready and able to pay me uh, for my work the amount I thought was right at that moment. And that's what I did. And I had to move away slightly from those school owners I had back then to people that wanted to scale up and already had some money to invest, and they had a better, clearer picture on where they wanted to go. And and that's what I did. So I actually applied all the same things that were in Atlas, but I let go of I my original idea being the only way to make things work.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. There's so much there to unpack, to touch on. First was, you know, when you said that we had this discussion, we had a couple of discussions inside Atlas, and I remember one of them, there was a huge focus on you. The group focused on you. There was a huge support day. I think it was Esther Day. we we just focused on you because you needed it. You needed to vent.
Yeah.
You needed the vulnerability and all that, and that was amazing. First of all, and maybe that was a breakthrough. I don't know if it was, or you just needed to vent, and that was
Oh,
cool.
Atlas is a breakthrough every week.
Thank you. And I think even from what you said about, when you ask, like, what's the how do you fix this, you know um you know me, like, I tell the truth the way it is. And it's not always the magic pill. It's like, no,
Mm.
you need to go fix the financial situation you're in, and just applying a tactic or something from Atlas is not going to fix that. You can't just automatically, oh, I'm just going to pose this way now, I'm going to get a whole bunch of money. And I think that is a huge thing that I also want to highlight, because that's not what this is. It's not another different tactics that's all of a sudden going to fix your business. It will fix the business, but there's so many interlying components to Atlas. Would you agree? Like, you learn one cool thing in week number 1 or 2, and you're like, wow, okay, I'm gonna go do this, and you got to wait. Like there's all these other things that need to come together as a whole to make Atlas, for you to understand the methodology or mindset behind Atlas. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I think most of us, when we came into Atlas, we thought it was a method, like another method that will finally work.
Yeah.
But it's not a method. Like you said, it's to me, it's almost like a lifestyle, that even if I can't see it not work, because there are so many elements, and it's so much about, the whole thing is about finding the way you are at your best, and um, and finding the people you with whom you are at your best. So how does it not work for someone?
Right.
But this process can take a long time, because there are so many ideas in our head. There are so many biases in this whole business, or people that surround us. We already have so many, and sometimes limiting ideas in our
Yes.
head, and we have to work through them. And sometimes just in one call there are 5 things coming up, and working through one of them takes a week. So then it takes time,
Yeah.
but little by little. And I think everybody who ever set foot in Atlas agrees that even by attending a single call, you get so much out of it. And sometimes you don't understand what it will be useful for, or sometimes you are
Right.
like, why don't we talk about the, I don't know, the funnels? And then you realize you're not ever gonna talk about funnels.
Right. Exactly right. Let's talk about that. Like, even though it takes a little bit longer, or it's not a magic pill overnight, w- would you agree that it's a simple process once you kind of understand the entire thing?
Oh yeah, it's totally simple, and it and and the elements of it do work overnight, because when you send
Yeah,
out a message in Atlas style, you will get a reply in Atlas style from the right person.
that's true.
But if you realize you're not talking to the right people, then it takes time to change those people. But uh, I what was the question about
I
the
no, it's all
pill?
good. It's I just,
Oh
if you
my
agree
god.
that it's a simple process. Like
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
so, because some people say to me, like when I tell them about it, like you're not gonna have to do funnels, or like you just said, funnels and all this stuff. You don't really have to do webinars. You don't have to do paid ads. Like you could if you want to and all that, but you don't really have to do that. They're like, then it can't be that simple. I'm like, yes, it is. So that's what I mean. Do you
Yeah,
agree
I
with that?
now remember what I wanted to add to that. It's very
Okay.
simple to understand, but sometimes it's very difficult to not return to our ingrained habits.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Uh, but once we are on the other side, I don't think I want ever. I want to go back to how I was communicating before, like. But I thought at some point that, okay, now I kind of understand everything. And how can it be that still it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when we just had an Atlas conversation, and I was like, shoot, I still have a bot on my page. How can I have a bot on my page?
You know
It's
what?
all about
You
human interaction. And I was like, how is it still there after being on Atlas for this long?
Wow, like it's amazing you just said that. I was just going to bring that up as an example. That like the realizations, like you go through it, you're like, I get all this, but then all of a sudden you go to another thing and you're like, oh my God, wait a minute, I'm still doing this other old way. And yeah, you
Yeah.
just brought up the exact example I was going to bring up. So with the bot. Yeah, it is human interactions. Like, so let me ask you this. What was, if there is, like maybe one or two, or maybe you have three big ahas, like what were your big things that you learned within the Atlas process? What would you say?
The number one thing is that we have to forget that it's a method, it's a whole system, and it will apply to everything. And by everything, I mean our whole life. It helped me put me first. It helped me value my time and my effort differently, but still in a way that I constantly serve. It was very difficult for me. It was either serving or selling. And
Right.
now it's not. It's serving and valuing my time. Asking for the amount I need to get for that time I put into my client's business, so I can also show up to the rest of the community with the same enthusiasm, the same energy. So that's definitely huge for me, and also that sometimes letting go is more powerful than pushing through and keeping up with the hustle. Sometimes you just need to let go of everything and just let the right thing find you, the right person find you. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the right person, because what I heard throughout this conversation so far was you were always going back to I wasn't speaking to the right people,
Oh,
you know,
sometimes I
and
feel like I'm still not.
well, but would you, and that's cool too. So even myself, like, am I really speaking to the right people? But that like is like I think the number one underlying component of what Atlas is all about. It all comes back to the who. Period. Yes, your
Yeah.
life first, but the second thing is like the who. Everything is about that who. And if things aren't working, then it's always like, okay, let's go back to that who. Like, are you doing this right? And
Exactly.
that's where people, when they're doing the avatar, like I've done the avatar, I've done all that work and whatever. I just need a funnel. I just need the right targeting in my Facebook ads. All the power to you. But if you're not speaking to the person, the one you want to speak to, it's going to be really difficult. What
Yeah.
do you say to that?
Totally, because you can have all the funnels, you can pay for all the ads and bring in a lot of people. You can even sell your courses if it's not the right people. It will take so much effort and energy of yours to keep things going and to actually deliver that stuff. Uh, and I also would like to connect here that the right people let you be the person who you are without uh, any fuss around you. And this is also something I learned from you, that I need to find the tribe where I can show up the way I show up anywhere else. Yeah.
How
And
does that feel?
that's really truly fantastic, because the people I talk to now, they value that. And that's what I valued about you, that you didn't try to make this look super easy. You always make it look very simple, because it is, but you share your struggles. You always tell us your you tell us about your lowest ever, and I haven't seen that from many people before, and I think that really uh, resonates, and I'm trying to do the same in my community. I'm not hiding things from them. So that's why I'm also sharing it today here. I'm like, I've already shared with them. So there's nothing new there. Um, and and yeah, being you and allowing your community as well to be themselves, because these things are mutual. um, build an environment where everybody grows, both you and your community.
That is like brilliant. That just, yeah, I'm beyond words. I don't even know what to say to that. I can't even add to that. Like, it's amazing how you just described bringing the tribe together, or bringing the right who's into your world, and showing up. And um that feeling, I know exactly what the feeling is, and showing up and being who you are and not being afraid to say anything. It's one of the biggest things that, even when I'm talking to my masterminds, my inside colleagues and people, and so, one of the things I always want to share with my tribe, and to get them to a place, is to get to where they can show up and they don't have to even worry about what to say. Because there would be certain situations, and not in a bad way, like, there would be certain situations where I would be teaching you something, and it would be, I would say something and then close the call, and like, I don't know if I really know if I should have if I should have said that. Whether it was either how I felt, or even a secret, or something about the business, like, here's how I do things, and then I would close the call and say, I don't know if I should have really told them how I do this, because yeah, that's kind of my secret, or it's kind of the business, like, you know what I mean? It would be, you'd have this filter, and now there's no filter. And not in a bad, like, no filters, like,
Yeah.
say whatever you want to say and everybody's cool, and you're not disrespectful to people, but you can show up that way.
Yes,
That's one
totally.
side of it. But the other side of it is like, and this, you guys ask questions all the time. How do you do this, or what does this look like?
Yeah.
And there's no like, okay, let me think about my answer, so I don't reveal something about the business that I don't want them to know. You know everything about my business. Like, everything. It's like, here it is. Here's on, just go model this and take what you want.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and
that is a cool feeling.
I think when you feel like that, like you close the call and you're like, should I should I have really shared this? That's when everybody on that call feels like Joey is the best. I didn't know I can love him even more.
Thank you. Let's talk about, I don't want to keep you here forever. I wish I could. I mean, you would, this conversation, I could last forever, because you have so many golden nuggets to talk about. So I don't want to keep you forever, because I know you have a busy life, and a good busy life. So I want to ask you, I want to put myself on a limb here and ask you, what were you worried about when you bought Atlas?
Mm, nothing. When I
Really?
when I before I bought, I was like, I don't know if I should spend this money, and what if it won't work? And
Okay.
but by the time I got there, I was like, I I know Joey's gonna give me 300%. I was already in your weekly calls. I was like, this is this is gonna work. I also did your right marketing copy, the first cohort. I knew that whatever I spend, I will get it back so many multiple times that I I had no, I wasn't worried. I was like, finally, oh my God. It felt like, um, and maybe not before the first call, but after the first few calls, you know what? I felt until then, my business life felt like I jumped out of a plane, or someone tossed me out of a plane without a parachute. And I'm approaching the ground, but I'm also hitting the cliffs and some trees. And and when I finally got into your inner circle, it was like, oh, I have a parachute. I'm still on the way, but
Very cool.
I'm I know what's happening. And you know what? Another thing that comes into mind is people, when people talk about me, when I ask them what was your first impression or something, they often say, you look like you seem like you know what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, that's fun because I have no idea. But since I'm in Atlas, I feel like I I'm closer and closer, or I'm more and more know what I'm doing. And
More confidence.
that's the coolest thing. It's like, if this is not gonna work, it has a reason. Yeah, it's not like before that it was like, let's try this method and let's see if it works. But it was a total, was like gambling. And now it's not gambling. I know that it's part of a process and it has a reason.
Very cool. And that goes back to what I said at the top of this, which is like your commitment, your tenacity, your belief, even though one method or one thing that we try didn't really bring the result you wanted, you're no longer doubting the Atlas. And I'm putting words in your mouth. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're no longer doubting the thing, just that that one street didn't get you to the main highway, and you're like, okay, no problem, just go back and do this thing because you believe in the system, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I also know that whenever that happens, that something didn't work out, I can always share. It's not a community where we have to hide things. We know that everybody has their ups and downs.
Right.
And and yeah, I want to highlight the amazing people that I met in your community, who I don't even think of them as people I only know online. I think of them as real people. And it would be amazing to meet one day in person, but even like this, it feels like you guys are always there for me whenever I'm in need. And I feel that sometimes I can be there for others if it's their day to to feel a little low. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And you're absolutely right. You are there for people. I know that because you've interjected on some of the conversations and gave your expertise, your advice, your story to help someone through. And I've seen that happen a billion times with you and so many others. So that's a huge component of it. And I totally agree with you about the online world. Like, and this is something I wanted to ask you before, but now this again just reminded me to ask you this. But to your point where we feel as though we're already friends, and if we saw each other, which we will, I know we will see each other in person, it will be like a high school reunion. It won't be
Oh
like,
yeah.
it'll be like we've known each other for so long and we just get to hug each other and it'll be like amazing. And so with that in mind, I wanted to ask you before, with the new community that you have, would you invite these people over for dinner?
Right now. Yes. All of them.
And how does that make you feel saying that or knowing that you have these people and they're not paying you? This isn't a paid dinner. You're not getting paid because of mastermind. They're coming over and you got it, right? So let's put that out. And you'd still invite them over for dinner?
Totally.
Why?
Yeah, it's because it's what you also say in Atlas, only have people as your clients who could be your friends.
Right.
And I follow that. And I speak to them in that way. I I dare to be a little crazy. Like, there are so many things that before I didn't put in my email, and now I share it with them openly. And like, and I think I learned that from, maybe I learned everything from you. I don't know, but you put your music at the
Yeah.
start of our sessions. And I have this commitment to send out a newsletter every Monday. And there was a day when I really felt like, oh my God, I really don't know what to send out. And I know most people imagine me having already scheduled the whole year. No way. So what I did, I sent out my playlist, my Spotify playlist for doing a great job.
That is
And
so cool.
people love that. Maybe not everybody, but those people who end up in the community, in the course, they loved the fact that that day I helped them with a cool playlist, because it made them feel like they're gonna get things done and stuff like that. And if you don't like that, you will probably unsubscribe or not come close to me anymore. But that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's you have to look for someone else if I'm not your person. Yeah.
And what you just said there reminds me of that your community or your tribe or your friends, let's call them our friends, they respect your ebbs and flows. They know that, hey, this is not, their expectations are, I'm not going to say lower, I don't know the right word, but their expectations are not like this. Hey, this is a business thing. I hired this person to be this and I expect these. They are your friends. Your friends know that, hey, Ezra's
Hmm.
just having a down day today, or she's not on her game, or she's a little bit crazy today, right? Like they just
Yeah.
they just flow. And that is, to me, it's the most valuable thing I've ever done in all the businesses that I've run,
Hmm.
is this world now of being with people, awesome people like you, who I am calling friends and saying, this is amazing. And one other thing to this I want to bring up, because I don't know, well, I do know that there are mindsets around the fact that you can't be friends with your clients.
Hmm.
That
I
that
know.
mentality is out there. Like, you can't be friends with your clients, and I'm saying BS on that. And for whatever reason, I think it's because the mindset is that they will take advantage of you. I don't ever feel as though anybody takes advantage of me. You haven't. Nobody in my community has ever taken advantage. We're still friends. Do you feel that? Do you feel as though they're going to take advantage of you because, oh, now I'm closer to Esther, we're friends, we chat offline, or I called her on her phone, or we met at the coffee shop and now I get the thing for free or something? Does that ever come up?
uh,
Or
I felt like that when I wasn't running the right business.
okay.
Because there were so many mismatches that this was one of them, that I couldn't get too close to those people because they would take advantage. But
Hmm.
and since the time I'm talking to the right people, that is that criteria is not valid anymore, because it's if the whole system is based on being myself, being vulnerable, and inviting people to do the same as my community, then what are we talking about? Yeah. But when we are not in the right place, not in the right business, of course, who wants to be friends with these people? They might even take my business away.
Right.
It's just
Right.
the whole thing shifts, and this is one element. And and yeah, I would say with every single person who is in my world now as a client, uh, I don't have that feeling that I have to hold anything back from them, and they don't have that feeling either. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Esther, thank you for this time. You are amazing. You have been amazing on this call with everything you've shared, all the insights. I'm going to make sure that I go back and listen to this like very intently, because I'm trying to do that, but also trying to ask you some questions too. But so I really want to listen to it again. And one last thing is, like, what would you say to somebody who is considering taking Atlas or going into an experience like this?
I would say don't wait too long because uh, if you join later, you will regret you didn't join earlier. I think that's definite. and and be ready for a very important shift um, in your business, but possibly even as a person, uh, and definitely for the better. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. I love you. I love what you're doing. You are impacting your corner of the world. Thank you for letting me be a little part of that journey of you impacting your corner of the world. Have an
Thank
awesome
you,
day.
Joey. I love you, and you are a major part of my journey. And this community is a major part, and I'm immensely grateful for that.
Thank you. We'll see you
Thanks.
soon, right?
Yes. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.